The sentence that ends your career is almost never the one you think it is. It is not a bad report. It is not a missed deadline. It is something you said on a Tuesday, half listening to yourself, to someone you half trusted about something you barely cared about. You will forget you said it by Friday. The person who heard it will not. And months later, in a room you will never sit in, a softened, sharpened, rearranged version of that sentence will be doing the damage your actual work could never undo. This is the part of work nobody warns you about. You spend years building a reputation with the things you do, and then you lose it with the things you say. Not in speeches, in throwaway moments, the break room, the Slack DM that felt like venting, the drink after the offsite where everyone got a little too honest, the fake laugh lunch table where people are performing friendship while quietly tracking each other for weakness, the parking lot conversation with the coworker who nodded at everything you said and then walked back inside and told one person who told one more who told the person whose opinion actually decided your next 2 years. And none of it will ever be traced back to you out loud. In 2026, this problem has teeth it never used to have. Chats are logged. Transcripts are generated by software that does not understand sarcasm. Meetings get summarized by tools that flatten tone into bullet points. Calendars leak patterns. Status dashboards count things you did not know were being counted. A whispered comment in 2015 died in the air. A whispered comment in 2026 might sit in a summary your manager skims 6 weeks later while deciding whose role to cut. None of this needs a villain. It only needs a system running on exactly the incentives it was built to run on, and people inside it doing exactly what the structure rewards them for doing. The rule underneath all of it is simple. The second a sentence leaves your mouth, it stops being yours. It belongs to office politics now. You don't own the meaning. You don't own the tone. You don't even own who gets to hear it. 12 kinds of information in particular get turned into leverage faster than anything else, and most people hand them over without realizing the transaction happened. The first is job search plans. It slips out as a sigh. You say you are updating your resume. You mention a recruiter. You say you are just seeing what's out there. It feels like venting, and venting feels like bonding. What you actually just did was erase yourself from the future of the building while your body is still in it. The coworker tells one person. That person mentions it casually to a team lead. The team lead files it without a word. Nothing happens. That's the whole trick. Nothing happens. You just stop being in the conversations about next quarter. The stretch project goes to someone else. Your name quietly falls off the succession slide. You are still employed. You are already gone in their heads. A job search hinted at too early is a resignation letter written in invisible ink, and managers learn to read it fast. The second is financial desperation, and this one is different. This one doesn't erase you. It chains you. It comes out as a joke. Rent went up. The car died. You are one bad month from disaster. You say it because admitting it feels like solidarity, because everyone seems to be struggling. What actually happens is that the people around you start seeing you differently. You stop being a peer with options and become a person with a price tag visible from across the table. Managers do not need to be cruel to use this. They only need to remember it the next time they decide how hard to push you, how small an offer you'll accept, how late you'll stay when asked. Need shows, and when it shows, it gets used. People who look like they can walk away get treated like people you have to keep. People who look trapped get treated like people you can squeeze, and the squeezing never stops once it starts. The third is opinions about coworkers. Someone annoys you. You say something sharp to the one person who seems to agree. The relief of being understood is immediate. But the sentence you said had a tone, a raised eyebrow, a bad morning behind it. The sentence that gets repeated has none of that. It gets flattened into its harshest possible reading and carried to the person most useful for the carrier to impress. Nobody ever confronts you. That's the part people don't understand. They don't argue. They don't push back. They just label you. You become difficult. You become someone with issues. And the coworker you criticized suddenly has a cooler handshake and a habit of not inviting you to things. And you will never, ever trace it back to the sentence that did it. The fourth is your real opinion of management. This is the most expensive thing you can say at work. It also feels like the safest because frustration with leadership is the social glue of every team on earth. Somebody starts, somebody agrees, somebody escalates. Suddenly you are saying exactly what you think about the director who can't make a decision or the VP who takes credit for everything. It feels safe because everyone is nodding. What you don't see is which of them had lunch with that director last week, which of them is angling for a role that depends on being trusted upstairs. Your comment doesn't get reported as betrayal, it just gets mentioned, and that's enough. They don't argue with you, they don't confront you, they just remember. From that point on, things shift on you in ways you can't name. Your messages get slower replies. Your idea shows up in the recap with someone else's name next to it. A project you were obviously next in line for goes to a colleague, and the explanation is always about timing or fit or bandwidth. It is never about the sentence. It is always about the sentence. People hand these things over for one reason nobody wants to say out loud. Work is lonely in a very specific way. You spend more hours with these people than with anyone you actually love. Your brain, which was built to form tribes, keeps trying to form one inside a structure that was built for evaluation and competition. So you manufacture closeness. You trade little confessions for the feeling of being known. You confuse someone laughing at your joke with someone being on your side. You treat friendliness as loyalty because the alternative, spending 40 hours a week as a stranger surrounded by strangers, feels unbearable. That's the humiliating part. Most oversharing at work is not carelessness. It is someone trying to feel human inside a place that does not have room for their full humanity. The system doesn't punish you for trying. It just uses what you leave behind. The fifth is political and polarizing beliefs. People share them because silence feels cowardly and because the culture keeps saying authenticity is a virtue. The thing that actually hurts you has nothing to do with whether your view is right. It's that any strong political statement gives listeners a cheap reason to put you in a different box in their head. You go from useful coworker to possible complication. That shift is silent. It is instant. It is permanent. Nobody argues with you. They just stop wanting you in the room where chemistry matters, and promotions are decided almost entirely in rooms where chemistry matters. One sentence, and you become the person they would rather not deal with. You don't get punished. You just stop getting picked. The sixth is mental health struggles shared in the wrong place. This one hurts to say because the cultural message is that openness heals, and in the right context, it does. The workplace is almost never the right context. You tell a coworker you have been struggling because you need one person to understand why you've been quiet. What you actually did was install a lens in their mind that they will look at you through for the next 2 years. A bad day becomes a symptom. A disagreement becomes instability. A request for space becomes something to document. The worst version is the manager who stops giving you hard work, tells themselves it's kindness, and in the process strips away the exact assignments that would have earned you your next promotion. You told them you were struggling, and they heard you say you were fragile. Paternalism is the softest cage in any office, and it locks from the outside. The seventh is family chaos. A divorce in progress, a parent in the hospital, a teenager in trouble. You mention it because the weight is too much to carry silently, and a coworker asked the right question on the wrong day. What the room hears is not your pain, it hears your bandwidth. You become the person with a lot going on, and that phrase sounds so gentle, but it does not stay gentle. You become the person they don't want to bet on right now. The important work drifts toward people whose lives look uncluttered. Nobody tells you why. They don't have to. You become the person they don't want to overload. And that sentence, said with real care, is the sentence that ends your trajectory. You were asking for understanding. You got rerouted around instead. Coworkers repeat what they hear for reasons that are almost never personal. Information is currency, and most people inside a corporate structure feel poor. Knowing the small thing about a colleague is one of the only kinds of status available to someone without real authority. Telling a manager a small fact is how people without power feel close to power. Some of them even like you while they're doing it. They are not evil. They are playing the only game the building teaches them to play, and you happen to be one of the cards in their hand. The eighth is personal health details. A surgery scheduled, a chronic condition managed, a medication that makes mornings rough. You mention it because you need an accommodation or because you feel you owe someone an explanation for a missed day. The explanation gets remembered long after the recovery. 2 years later, during a restructuring, someone in a closed room says, with real concern in their voice, that you've had health issues. And concern, in that room, does the work of elimination. In many places, the law technically protects you. The protection only works if you can prove the connection, and the connection is almost never written down anywhere you can subpoena. Your body heals. The file doesn't. Health information at work does not stay information. It becomes a reason. There is one piece of nuance that has to be said here, because leaving it out would be dishonest. Some conversations at work are legally protected. In many places, you have the right to discuss pay with your coworkers. You have the right to report harassment. You have the right to raise concerns about illegal practices. Nothing in this video is telling you not to use those rights. But there is a difference between formal reporting, done through channels that create a record that protects you, and casual venting, done in hallways where no record protects anyone. The law can defend you in a courtroom. It cannot defend you in the rooms where your name is discussed informally by people who will never have to explain their choices out loud. Being allowed to say something is not the same thing as being safe to say it. That distinction is not a technicality. It is the whole game. The ninth is exit dreams and side plans. And this one is not about leverage. This one is about making yourself easy to replace. The novel you're writing at night. The business you want to start in 2 years. The farm. The early retirement number you keep refining on a spreadsheet. You share it because excitement wants a witness. What the listener hears is that you are already partly gone. And here is the cruel mechanism nobody warns you about. Your boss doesn't get angry. Your boss gets relieved. You have quietly given them permission to stop feeling guilty about the decisions they were already considering making. Every time you describe your exit, you make your replacement a little easier for them to picture. You become the coworker whose absence is already half rehearsed. And inevitability is the strongest force in any org chart. The 10th is your digital behavior and online presence. The side account, the opinion you posted in a forum that felt private, the group you joined, the review you left on something embarrassing. You leave these things findable because the internet still feels like a separate world. It is not a separate world. Someone will eventually connect a username to your real name, not out of malice, but because they got bored in a meeting and typed something into a search bar. A post from 4 years ago surfaces during a background check. A screenshot becomes a private message between 2 people in HR. Everything you ever typed is still typing. Your digital footprint is a second performance review running in the background, graded by strangers, submitted without your consent, and you don't even know when the verdict lands. Even the kindest coworkers are not friends in the way you want them to be, and understanding why is not cynicism, it is architecture. Good people operate inside structures with incentives, and those incentives bend behavior in ways the people themselves don't notice. Promotions are scarce. Layoffs happen on calendars nobody controls. Reputation is filtered through rooms you never see. A colleague can genuinely like you and still mention something about you in a meeting because it helped them make a different point. They are not betraying you. They are surviving a structure that quietly asked them to choose, and the structure wins almost every time. The relationships inside a workplace can be real. The workplace itself cannot hold them safely. It is a sorting machine with people in it, and the sorting never stops. The 11th is your negotiation ceilings and personal thresholds, the salary you would settle for, the title you would accept, the hours you are willing to push through, the point at which you would actually walk. You say these out loud because thinking alone is exhausting, and a trusted peer feels like a safe place to plan. Whatever number you said becomes a number the building uses. The next offer arrives calibrated exactly to your floor, because somebody, at some point, repeated what you said to somebody who had a reason to write it down. You walked into that conversation holding the only leverage you had. You gave it away in exchange for the feeling of being heard. A revealed threshold is a ransom note you wrote for yourself and delivered by hand. The 12th is the rule that swallows all the others. It is the one you should burn into the back of your eyes before your next day at work. Anything you would not want read aloud in a meeting or captured in a screenshot does not belong in your mouth at work. That is the whole test. Not whether you trust a person, not whether the moment feels safe, not whether the drinks are good and the laughter feels real. The only question that matters is whether the stripped down, context-free, tone-free version of your sentence, traveling through rooms you will never enter, is one you can survive. If the answer is no, the sentence does not get spoken, not softened, not hinted at, not joked about, not said. The filter is not a list of forbidden topics. It is one question, asked in real time, every time. The people who learn to ask it stop getting quietly removed from futures they thought they were building. The people who don't keep wondering why things shifted on them for no reason. Your career is not shaped only by what you do. It is shaped by the stories other people can tell about you when you are not in the room. The workplace collects those stories. It keeps them. It trims them. And eventually, it hands them to the people who decide if you move up or fade out. You don't get to edit that process. You don't even get to see it. You only get to control what you feed into it. None of this means becoming cold or paranoid or unreadable. People who try to hide everything become their own kind of suspicious, and isolation has a cost too. The goal is not to disappear. The goal is to be present without being raw material, warm without being transparent, easy to work with without being easy to quote. You can build real relationships inside a workplace. Just never forget what the workplace is underneath them. Be human. Be likable. Be the person others want in the room. Just stop handing the system the pieces of yourself it was built to use against you. Because here's the part nobody says out loud. The system is not going to change. It is not going to get kinder. It is not going to start protecting your honesty. It was never designed to. It was designed to sort you, rank you, and decide what to do with you. And every sentence you give it is one more data point it gets to use however it wants. You are not going to out-talk it. You are not going to out-trust it. You are only going to out-survive it by giving it less to work with. Every sentence you don't say is a door the system cannot open. Keep the doors closed. And if, while listening to this, your mind kept drifting back to specific conversations you've already had, specific people, specific sentences you wish you could pull back out of the air, that's not paranoia. That's the point. You've already given the system more than you should have. Most of us have. The only thing you actually control now is what you say tomorrow. Start there. Say less. Let them wonder. Let the file on you stop growing. Because the version of you that makes it out of that building with your career intact is not going to be the most brilliant one, or the hardest working one, or even the most liked one. It's going to be the one they never had enough on.